About a year ago, on a whim of nostalgia, me and my friend Tyler revisited Yu-Gi-Oh! And the Pokemon trading card game. While Yu-Gi-Oh! Has evolved to the point where I can barely even recognize it, Pokemon has remained largely the same mechanically, and we had a lot of fun revisiting the game building decks out of old cards. Then I did something I never expected that I would do. I actually went out of my way and bought some new Pokemon cards. I'm sure most Pokemon fans were given Pokemon cards as a gift at some point, or bought some just for the sake of collecting or looking at the art, but this was the first time I bought Pokemon cards for myself since apparently 2003? I had to look it up, but yeah, my last time buying Pokemon cards was this Flygon deck, dated in 2003. Damn, 15 years and I never bought so much as a booster pack. In the past year-ish, I've been buying cards and playing the game a lot with Tyler and pretty much no one else. I don't plan to go competitive or anything. I'm not remotely smart, wealthy, or lucky enough for that, but collecting cards, building decks, and playing with Tyler has been pretty damn fun. So I said to myself the other day, or a few weeks ago as of recording this, fuck it, if I'm this enthused about it, let's make a video. I know this is gonna be a really weird offshoot for my channel, but hey, it's Pokemon and there technically is a video game. For those new to this Reasons I Love format, this is a series of videos where I take a subject and choose a few things for talking points. Some of the biggest reasons I enjoy a game or anime, or I guess in this case, a trading card game. Thankfully, this is so different that I don't really have to go out of my way to avoid rote game review tropes and can just talk about whatever really. So let's not waste any more time and get to talking about 5 reasons I love the Pokemon trading card game. To start, let's talk about something a little less specific to the Pokemon TCG and more of a TCG thing in general. I find that TCGs are unique in how they're fun. Unlike video games, physically building a deck and seeing it work gives a different type of catharsis. Don't get me wrong, strategy games will have this sort of thing too, but playing TCGs makes me feel like some kind of diabolical tactics warlock in a way that nothing else really does. In the case of a Pokemon TCG, there are mechanics and cards you can take advantage of to make for some really nasty plays, to the point where sometimes I just feel bad. Creating super specific plans isn't usually ideal for a deck of 60 cards because the odds of you getting a perfect hand are slim, but the Pokemon TCG has a lot of cards and abilities that allow you to get a lot of control over what you have in your hand or on the field. One of my favorite examples of this is cards like Shiinotic with the ability Illuminate, allowing you to dig through your deck every turn for specific Pokemon. There are of course plenty of item and supporter cards that allow you to pull these kinds of shenanigans as well. One of my favorites is Ninja Boy, which allows you to take a basic Pokemon from the field and switch it with another basic, leaving the new basic with all of its energy cards and tools. Speaking to devilish strategies I've employed myself, my favorite decks I've built to date are my Steel deck and my Poison deck. My Steel deck has an emphasis on constantly dumping energy into the discard pile and then pulling it back out. Mount Coronet allows me to put the energy into my hand, and Metagross GX allows me to put it on my active Pokemon. Probably my favorite card in the deck is Alolan Dugtrio with the move Gold Rush, allowing me to dump a bunch of Steel energy from my hand to do some serious damage. It may not survive for long after due to its low HP, but it secured many game-changing kills. My Poison deck is the one that I've put the most effort into, and it's one of my favorite to play with. Toxapex GX and Muck are great for quickly chipping away at enemy HP, especially if I have a few Survivors on the bench, adding to the poison damage with the nasty ability More Poison. It can feel really good to be the bad guy in this game. Next, let's keep talking about the game's mechanics. The Pokemon format gets mostly faithfully recreated in the TCG, but many things had to be removed or changed in how they function. Types are one of the only problems I have with the TCG, because the way weaknesses and resistances function can be completely game-breaking, but that's about the only mechanic I feel was translated poorly. Other basic ideas from the original games, like abilities and hold items, were moved over perfectly, and in some ways even improved from the original games. Abilities are one of my favorite mechanics in the Pokemon TCG. In the video games, abilities are important, but are usually just to the benefit of one Pokemon. Sometimes they'll offer synergy with a partner in doubles, but most of the time it's stuff like reducing damage, changing critical hit rates, healing under certain conditions, so on and so forth. In the TCG, abilities have more synergy, more devastating effects, and can affect the entire state of the field. They even existed in the TCG before the games had abilities, being referred to as Pokepowers or Pokebodies. I already mentioned Shiinotic and Seviper, with abilities that allow you to search your deck for specific cards or deal additional damage. For another ability I'm fond of, Articuno GX and Tapu Koko GX have Legendary Ascent and Arrow Trail. These are basically the same ability, allowing you to move the Pokemon from your hand to the bench, slurp up energy, and then put them into the active position ready to dump massive damage. There are some mechanics that are entirely unique to the card game. The bench allows for some strategic play that the video game parties just don't. There are ways you can attack Pokemon on the bench, move Pokemon around, etc. The abilities of Pokemon on the bench bench are still in play, so if you have a Pokemon with a valuable ability, leaving them on your bench is a totally viable option. Field cards are another addition to the game, functioning sort of like a blend of abilities and weather effects from the video games. I especially like these weird double field cards that give each player a completely different effect. They're super weird and kinda awesome. Delta species aren't around anymore, but lots of people will be familiar with them since it's been speculated that they were at least partially inspiration for the design of Alolan forms. Alolan forms were eventually added to the TCG, but Delta species came first and were just crazy. Take a few minutes and go down the card list of Delta species, it's just bananas how many there were and how weird they got. Grass Quagsire, Electric Mantine, Water Salamence, Fire Gardevoir, and more steel variations than you can shake a stick at. There were some other things like this earlier on in the card game too. Dark variations of cards go back as far as Gen 1, but the Delta species are just wild. The last mechanic unique to the card game I want to mention is Level X and Break cards. These are a little different in execution, but the idea is mostly the same, an extra stage to the Pokemon's evolution. I wasn't playing the TCG back in the Level X days, so I don't have any attachment to them, but I do have some experience with breaks, so I'll stick to talking about those. Breaks are these funky sideways cards that lay on top of a card in play, giving the Pokemon more HP and new abilities and moves. What's interesting mechanically is that unlike normal evolution or Mega Evolution, breaks allow you to use the moves and abilities of Pokemon that it evolved from. Beyond the mechanical value though, I like that breaks exist because it gives a lot of Pokemon new forms that'll never be seen in the games. It's like Mega Evolution for Pokemon that never got to Mega Evolve, regardless of if they did or didn't need the extra boost in power. The gold color of the models is a bit cheesy, but I love the sparks flying everywhere, giving off the impression that the Pokemon has been supercharged with energy. Even better is that a lot of my favorite Pokemon were given breaks, including Clawitzer, Yanmega, Nidoking, and my boy Chestnut. Now if only I could actually pull one. You know, let's tangent off of that and talk about pulling. This is a trading card game, so collecting the cards themselves is a lot of the fun. I can't speak to other TCGs, but the Pokemon TCG has a lot of fairness in its pull rates. Almost every booster pack will have some value. Some expansions are obviously going to be better than others for pulls depending on how big the card list is, but there are a few fair rules that the game follows on the booster pack level. As of right now, every booster pack is guaranteed a rare, 3 uncommons, and 6 commons. As a bonus, every pack will have at least one reverse foil card. That's the term they use for having the holographic print be on the color of the card and not like the image itself. It's a little hard to describe without just looking at it. Many packs will be what me and Tyler refer to as double rare packs. These are the packs with these white code cards instead of the usual green. These always have a second foil card alongside the reverse foil, and from my experience will always have the more valuable stuff in them. Sometimes it's just a holo of a rare or a holo of a trainer card, but the occasions where you pull a GX or something even more valuable are oh so sweet. If you followed this channel for a while, you know that I enjoyed Fire Emblem Heroes for a time, and I'll be honest, I very rarely enjoyed the gacha itself. The pull rates in Heroes are pretty good all considered, but it wasn't very fun, especially when so many units were just going to be sent to the feather grinder. In the Pokemon TCG, I really enjoy the gambling, even if it is disappointing to go through a batch of packs without getting anything particularly valuable. Though I seldom have to live with that disappointment, so that's cool. Because of the pretty decent pull rates, it makes me feel a little less stupid when I'm reminded that I've been spending money on slices of cardboard. I also feel better about spending money on cards because I don't really spend that much on it. Buying Pokemon cards itself is fun because there are so many ways you can save money. I almost never buy cards at full price, and I almost never have to. Hunting for good deals and going on adventures to different stores to pick up cards at good prices is a fun way to spend an afternoon, even if there are times where I don't buy anything and I'm just along for the ride with my buddy. Anyone who ever collected amiibos, or hell, anyone who's ever been a collector of anything will probably understand where I'm coming from here. Maybe I'm a capitalist pig, and maybe I have a gambling problem. Shopping for and opening the cards itself is fun, and part of that fun is seeing how the Pokemon are depicted on the cards you pull. I've always found that one of the best parts of the TCG is the art on every card. The TCG's art is great because it's all over the place, not in quality, but in art style. It's so varied. Any one Pokemon can go through like 4 different art styles. Grimer, Cacnea, and Seedot come to mind, and somehow it rarely feels out of place. Ironically, the art that does feel out of place is when they use official art from the game superimposed over a background instead of drawing an entire portrait. There's a lot of Sugimori in the Pokemon TCG, and I mean like a lot, but most of the art is done from scratch for the cards, which is a commendable amount of effort. A lot of the art is hand-drawn stuff, but that's a gross simplification of how many different art styles people bring to the table. Some of it is highly detailed and stays within the realm of the Pokemon look and feel, but then there are vivid paintings like this old Shiftry card, art that looks like it was pulled out of a comic or a children's picture book like this Mary Ben Ampharos, and many many more abstract takes on the Pokemon. I really enjoy the cards by Tomokazu Komiya. He gives it a surreal, almost Van Gogh feel. Some artists even take creative avenues on making their portraits look like they were made of different materials. For example, drawings that look like they were made out of cardstock, giving the art some texture. Miki Kudo is a relatively new artist to the game, and most of his cards look like this. There are some really derpy looking cards too. I brought up Komiya, and trust me, he has some weird ones, but honestly, I love this kind of art. For example, there's this recent Pikachu and Eevee that have squished faces, but every time I see them, I just crack a smile because it's cute. My favorite type of art in the TCG is the photos of real-world models. Over the years, there have been a lot of clay models, like hundreds of them. I could do an entire poker app with all the cards that Yuka Mori has done art for, all the way back to the Johto days. But I mean, I won't. Look at these cards, that's a lot of wrapping. Very recently, Asako Ito has joined the TCG team and has been making my favorite cards in the history of the game. These yarn models are so fucking precious. I love these. My current favorite Pokemon has been immortalized in yarn, and that just puts the biggest smile on my face. Goodfeel, you need to get on this shit. Make a yarn Pokemon game next. The last thing I want to talk about for this video is something specific to me. The Pokemon TCG didn't save me from a burning building or win me $1,000 at a tournament or anything, but it's given me a new thing to love within Pokemon. Before getting into the TCG for real last year, it was just the games for me. Barring some plushies or a couple seasons of the anime, I've rarely invested in the multimedia aspects of Pokemon. The Pokemon TCG expansions would come and go, and I never give it a care in the world. I only learned while writing this video that there have been 2 functionally different EX cards I've really not been keeping up in the past 15 years. But now, I'm following it. Unbroken Bonds released a little while back, and I bought some packs from that almost day one, and I've been keeping up with the updates on the Unified Minds expansion that's coming later this year. Following the card game, seeing new cards get shown off, it's like following updates from Fire Emblem Heroes, except I actually still play the Pokemon TCG. The best thing about finding new things to enjoy in the Pokemon TCG is how it's changed my feelings on certain Pokemon. I used to not give a damn about Toxicroak, but there are some great Toxicroak cards that I like a lot. You know, poison types in general I've gained a lot more appreciation for thanks to the card game. I mentioned Toxapex, Muck, and Seviper earlier, and add to that list Garbodor. The fucking trash Pokemon that we all made fun of has become one of my favorite cards in the TCG. In some cases, playing the TCG has reinforced my feelings towards some Pokemon. For example, I fucking love Ampharos, and Ampharos is consistently good in the TCG. Its GX isn't my favorite functionally, but Steam Siege Ampharos is a favorite of mine. The art for some of my favorite Pokemon also brings me a lot of joy. The Chandelure family has some of my favorite art in the game, with crisp, detailed portraits and a Yarn Litwick for good measure. And in some very rare cases, there are Pokemon where my negative feelings towards them have been reinforced too. For me, I keep fucking pulling Volcanions, and I hate Volcanion. I even pulled a secret rare Volcanion EX. What the hell? Why do they keep printing Volcanions? Stop it! Make another water fire type already. This has been Ideo Noben, and thank you for watching this little video of me gushing about the Pokemon trading card game. Do you play the Pokemon TCG? What do you like about it? Or hell, what's the craziest pull you've ever got? You know where to go and answer those questions. If you've enjoyed this video, how about you scroll down a bit and hit that like button, and maybe subscribe if you're interested in seeing more out of me. And if you're interested in giving me a little more direct support, you can head over to my Patreon and show me some love. I recently overhauled my Patreon a little bit, so any donation as little as $1 a month will let you join the folks appearing on screen right now. And a special secret rare thanks to my buddy, the soon-to-be world-famous Minecraft streamer, the Silver Keyblade. Thank you all again for watching and supporting me, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.